ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीं अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are listening this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are in the 6th chapter and we had seen verse number 42nd in our last class. So first of all, I apologize for the delay to begin the class. There are certain things which are not in control of us frail human beings. So anyhow, and on the eve of the 75th Independence Day of our nation, India, Bharat, I convey my heartiest greetings to all Indians. May the Lord God bless our country, our nation, and also all those, every one of them, who cherish this idea of Bharat, its ancient culture, its civilization. Here we call it independence, or India got freedom. The concept of freedom is also very intrinsic, very core idea of spiritual life, and especially for the Hindus. We have all the time heard these words, Purushartha Chatushtaya. Which are they? Which are they? They are Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Purushartha. So it is meant only for men, then it is not meant for women? It is not so. Purusha is referred to Jiva, the consciousness associated with a particular body and mind. So consciousness which I associated with what I call me and mine. So it is called as Jiva. It is referred as Purusha. So towards its Purusha Artha, towards its interest, towards its benefit, there are 4 interests of Purusha: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Moksha is Mukti. That is the ultimate true spiritual freedom. Now, what that concept be for an individual will define the rest three interests for that individual. Three being dharma, artha, and kama. Dharma is the general policy of how you are going to achieve that moksha. Artha are your immediate goals. So moksha being the ultimate goal, artha, kama being the your immediate and small and contextual goals, which will take you while achieving those, fulfilling those goals, those needs. You will travel, you will progress further toward moksha. So kama is defined upon moksha. Dharma is defined upon moksha. So also the artha. Artha is the means you undertake to fulfill your kama. So at one side there is dharma, other side there is a kama, and in between there is a artha. Artha is an approach, is resources. ये विजय, इसका आवाज थोड़ा मेरे ख्याल से हम हो रहा है, थोड़ा देखो हम हो रहा है, इधर आवाज आ रहा है. बोलने से हम हो रहा है. इको है क्या या फिर रिवर्ब कोई है तो कम करो उसको. So the idea of moksha defines these three things: dharma, artha, and kama. The idea of righteousness, that how one should live in this, how one should conduct oneself, that is dharma, general policy of being good, that viveka, sat and asat. What one should do and one should not, depending upon the circumstances and depending upon his personal being, how he is disposed. That is dharma. Depending upon these two, considering these two factors, the outer world and inner, a person decides. That is the dharma. How then he employs, how he approaches to fulfill his kama. That is consequential your needs, which you have to fulfill. Suppose for a spiritual aspirant, moksha, spiritual, his idea is he has to get liberated, he has to do sadhana, so he must eat a little bit. He must eat accordingly. So eating now is his kama. He must fill his stomach. How he should go about it? Artha. Dharma, it will tell him that how he should do it. Artha is how he do it. There is a difference. Dharma is, it will tell him that Gita as says in the 6th chapter, Yukta hara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta sapna bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So you should not eat too much, you should not eat too less. Yukta, you should be measured. So accordingly, not only your diet, your food, but your conduct, yukta ahara, vihara, as you go about in doing everything else. So it should be measured. This is now the dharma. Now suppose yukta means what? How much is yukta? How much is measured? So is there a perfect measure that somebody should eat 2 roti, 4 roti, 6 roti? What is there? So according to his build of that person, his hunger, how he is disposed of, that how he will approach and how he will acquire, how the resources engage. He should not engage himself to fulfill those kama or needs which will pollute or stain his own mind, and then he will not be engage himself into spiritual sadhana. That is artha. So management of resources, that is artha. So dharma, artha and kama, moksha, these are the 4 things. four interests of the jiva. He should pursue those things. Now, moksha being the highest, the idea of freedom, the liberation, the idea of ultimate emancipation. So before comes the freedom, there must come the sense of bondage, isn't it? So if you are going to be free, then you are going to be free from what? That should be the question, isn't it? What are you going to be free from? What are you going to be independent from? Mukti. So bandha, this idea, this must come. So you must feel bonded, not free, then only, and there is a desperation, then you want to be free. That somehow you are stuck and you are suffocating and you want to be liberated from this. So idea of bondage. So idea of bondage comes to the jiva from these desires which he goes about to fulfill, the kama, artha. Now these desires he feel attached. He gets involved, and from these desires there ensues the actions, and actions bears the results, karma and karma phala. And from this karma phala, whatever karma I have done, which they have ensued, which they have begun with me, I must bear the fruits thereof. I am free to choose the course of my action, but I am not free to choose the consequences thereof. I am free to act in a way I like, but their fruits cannot be as per my desires. You may desire anything, fruits may differ, they are not bound by your desires. With some desire you go into an action, but that action may not necessarily bear the fruit desired by you. But whatever the fruits comes, you are bound to enjoy or suffer them. You cannot escape those things. So this is the bondage. You are bound. So this is a vicious circle. Karma, karma phala, karma and karma phala. So karma goes on, and there are fruits, and which we must we have to suffer or enjoy. Now this is the bondage. Now how to get free from it? So one cannot stop doing karma. So he has to do something. The idea there is, as long as I is there, I am doing action. So there will be the results of action. So if there is no I, so whom those fruits will come back to? So this is the solution provided by the Hindus. So you must transcend the I. You must obliterate the I. If there is no I, where these fruits will go? And this I, they say, is our dharma, our shastra says that this is the confusion, this is delusion, this is maya, this is brahma, this is not truly what you are. The true nature of jiva is ever pure, ever free. He was never bound. He has come to dream in this way, and that's how he feel bound. He is never bound. He is ever pure, ever free, ever untainted, nitya, permanent, nitya, shuddha, buddha, ever conscious, ever intelligent, ever aware, shuddha, buddha, mukta, swabhava. That is its true nature. They are not its quality. That pure intelligence, pure that existence, purity itself, taintlessness itself, that is what you are. It is not the quality you have. You are that. Now, if one regains this knowledge and this ignorance of limitedness and qualifications of attributes, if those disappear, so whole drama comes to an end. and that is the concept of liberation, concept of emancipation, concept of moksha in Hindu Dharma. Vedanta. So that's how you become free, by dissociating, by dropping off this ignorance that I am so and so. That is the concept of moksha. For that, everything else goes on. Jnana, bhakti, yoga, karma, everything. This world and whatever we are doing, the way we are interacting with it, is a continuous sadhana, continuous practice. It's continuous struggle of that Purusha, of that Jiva to become free. This is his struggle, whether he knows it or not. However way he interprets it, in the terms of peace, in the terms of prosperity, in the terms of vengeance, in the terms of satisfaction, in the terms of victory, in the terms of vanquishing others, victory over others, in whatsoever way, he is always trying to find that perfection, that liberation, that emancipation. Without that, there is now going to be an end of this cycle. It is going to get forward and forward, going forward and forward without having an aim is not Hindus believe in. They say there is an end. That is the end from which everything has begun. Going back to it is the end. And reaching that end is moksha, liberating. It is a continuous growth of the individual. From first the physical plane, then the psychological and intellectual plane, and then on the spiritual plane. He grows up as if he travels from one graph or one curve to other, material, intellectual, and spiritual. At one point of time, it might be very difficult for us to leave our gross interest. But as soon as man goes on a higher intellectual plane, grosser things mean less to him or her. They can sacrifice those things. We have a concept. Suppose she is my sister, he is my brother, this is my child, my son, my daughter, my wife, my father, mother, friend, country. Isn't for country people sacrifice their life? So it's a mental construct, it's an idea, isn't it? As gross as this own life, isn't that person sacrificing? So grosser is being sacrificed for something which is psycho-intellectual. He has come up. If there is a person, just for the sake of the hunger, he sacrifices big interest of the people of his village or family or suppose country. How you call it? You call that person a mean person, of low culture, undeveloped person. The person on the rivers who can do that, who can sacrifice, make great sacrifice for the benefit of many, you call him the great person. You worship him, isn't it? So, on higher and higher plane, this is the continuous story of human growth. Which person is being worshipped as God? They show all the time this, that subtle is always more powerful and prevalent than the gross. This is the spiritual journey, spiritual evolution of an individual being, and ultimate epitome and pinnacle of it is this moksha. That man drops everything, whatever he had clutching on to, and when he becomes successful, it is called as moksha. The idea of liberation, the idea of freedom in the Vedanta. That's to what we all belong, which is our dharma, Vedanta dharma. The dharma, the religion of the Upanishads, of our forefathers of this land, which is otherwise known as Hindu dharma. Now, in general context, the idea of freedom, this is something wonderful to when to ponder over this idea. When I was young and started reading Swami Vivekananda's work, Swami Vivekananda, in his complete works of Swami Vivekananda, complete works, this name of the book is like that, the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. In there, in his lectures, addresses, especially in those addresses which he have given to Indian people after returning back to India from the West in 1897. When he was in West, he never criticized India, never ever. All the time he held the glory of our nation, of our civilization. He knew everything, what is the truth, but he held up the concepts, what is glorious, what we can give to them. That Swamiji held up high. Not regarding the present situation of the society, because in the flow of the time, such old civilization, these things are but the passing situations. They are not the ultimate truth. There is a bad time and there will be a good time. Certainly Swamiji had seen that. So, but when he comes back to India and he is strong and direct to the Indian people, and in those addresses, many times he is saying to Indian people and their certain behaviors, their customs, that the slavish mentality, the attitude of a slave, we were still a slave country, if we can call us a country, a slave people ruled by some foreign ruler. And it is to pinch me when I used to read that why Swamiji is using such caustic remark. It was difficult for me. What does it mean then? But the question, the intrigue, what is slave mentality? And what is then the free man? Who is free man? Who is thinking like a free man? What is the mind of a free man? So this was my question, and this I was deliberating upon. So what is slave mentality and what is the mentality, the mind of a free individual? What is freedom? What is being free? How it is like acting, living, conducting ourselves like a free man. What is it? And what is that man? So apparently he is free, but he has a slave mentality. What is the difference? What is the secret? So in those times, that there is this basic difference, very, and the core of it is self-belief. Many times I used to say this to people who used to come here for spiritual initiation, and I used to ask them these questions, that how do you come to decide that you want to take spiritual initiation, mantra diksha from Ramakrishna Math? What do you understand by mantra diksha? For what is in your mind, etc., etc. So in general I used to ask that how did you come into contact with Ramakrishna Math, etc. So many times these people's responses were as usual, as they are generally they should be. But many and we used to play there, and we used to go in Durga Puja and do this kind of seva, etc. So many kinds of, so, or otherwise this center was close by my house, and I know this Swamiji, etc. I had been gone to this many centers, I know so many Swamijis, etc., etc. This many times, these are general, of course. This is how people reply. But unfortunately, I am sitting across. And whenever these kinds of replies to come, I has to somehow I has to have a whip in my hand to shock him up and bring him to the ground and to tell him, see, the spiritual life is no business of credit. No credit is accepted here. Even if you are born in the clan of Sri Ramakrishna, I would not count you 1 gram better than other. It is no business in spiritual life. Who you, what you have done, and so many other things. Only thing is counted. I say this is a business in cold cash. He thought he is asking cash or what? No, not that. Cold cash is what you bring as you yourself, as your worth. What you have become, what you are, that is only is counted. Nothing else. How do you feel about the truth? How desperate you are to realize it? Do you think, do you believe in this idea that this is the true nature of human being and it must be attained? That moksha, that spiritual illumination, spiritual knowledge or Ishwar darshan is the aim of human life. Sri Ramakrishna is to say that how strongly you believe and how much you can feel it. That is my question. That is the eligibility test. Not what you have done. Whether you are born and since childhood you are, I am not, what, how it has translated into on this matrix, that is my only question. Do you understand this? This is what spiritual life is meant to be. That you come to that understanding. And now you are ready to begin that journey consciously, deliberately. You want to do something. Have you come on the such cusp of your life? That is the question. So credit. So there would be no credits accepted. So in what happens? A slave person and a free person. This is the difference you will find. They accept no credit whosoever. They will stand tall and they will speak man to man, eye to eye. Even if he is poor, even if he is illiterate, even if he is socialist, but he will have self-respect. He does not feel any way lesser than you. He deals with you accordingly. He does not feel ashamed. The idea of a free man and idea of a slave mind. A slave person, as soon as a big person said something, it must be true. That is his attitude. He is always as if carrying the load, burden of the other people's opinions and references. He does not intrinsically on its own merit judge a thing. He does not believe in himself. That even if 100 people are saying something is right, that I think it is wrong, so I must say wrong. That anyway, he can politely do, of course do so, that pardon me, that probably I am not able to understand, but I do not understand how it is right. He can express it like a gentleman, of course. That non-conformist attitude, that you are not obliged to conform to others' views and opinions. You see the India, even today, there are some stars, there are some heavyweights, there are some in today's world, there is another word, influencers. Social media influencers. If somebody had said something, somebody is a big journalist, suppose, he had said it must be true, everybody is going to defend it, nobody is critically analyzing it. This is the slave mind. Freedom is freedom from fears. You are always fearful. The slave is fearful, not the free man. You are always fearful that probably you will be condemned to be wrong. That is the slave. You do not dare to be wrong. The one who dares is the free man. Your freedom, I have many times I used to say this, your freedom is given to you. That freedom is to do mistakes. Freedom for doing mistakes. That is the freedom. We are always fearful of committing mistakes or owning them. That is the slave attitude. That you are not free from fears. Abhi, that word Swami used to praise from the Upanishad, that he says that there is no other spiritual or religious literature where the fearlessness has been equated or used as a name for the God, the highest spiritual being. But only in Upanishads we find that. So freedom is freedom from fears. That's why that highest state is called as Abhayam Pada. That there are no more fears. That is the true freedom. There would be mistakes, there would be setbacks, there would be failures. That is a part of life. This is how this world is. What are you afraid of? Imagine those days in 1890s, 150 years before India's independence. Even now people carry those elements. Much more things have changed, of course. Nowadays, today's children, they are not like that. Even we used to be, we had those kind of, in our initial days, ideas. Because that's how society, and everywhere we were imitating. Those who are 60 years old, they can far more relate to, or 70 years old, 75 years old. How we have come forward. Now, today's India, today's people, they are much more self-confident. They have much more self-belief. So, the idea of freedom. So, this freedom has to be attained, it has to be cultivated. It is not reiterating, regurgitating others' words. It is to make your own mark. Being self-conscious, self-aware of what you truly are, not to emulate others and dance to others' tune. That is a slave man. That is a slave mentality. Always eager to please others. Dog's life it is. You are not a man. So Swamiji used to always say that give me a few men who have the erect spine and who are self-believing. And he said, I could change the world. That much it was wanting. So that is Swami Vivekananda's greatest contribution. Now recently we had this function commemorating this 75th year of India's independence and 125 years of Ramakrishna Mission Foundation. The program was dedicated to Swami Vivekananda. So there were these topics discussed. Swami Vivekananda's contribution to Indian freedom struggle. The greatest contribution in my mind was that he gave Indians that self-belief. That everywhere it was condemned that whatever is associated with your traditions, with your belief, with your religion, with your practices, whatever associated with the word Hindu or Indian is downright trash, abominable, should be condemned and thrown out. And you must emulate others because we are the hallmark, we are the standards, we are the new benchmark of progress, evolution, of man's growth. We are that. We British, Europeans, Westerns, including everything, including religion, you must emulate ours, you must follow ours because we are the greatest. That's why everything what we have must be the greatest. our religion must be greatest. Fully knowing well that they cannot hold candle to us. And people in those times, you have seen Swami Vivekananda is saying to one of his disciples that if you go to office, you go with a coat and all that, or trousers. But when you come back, you must immediately, that is your uniform, it is you are mandated to be in the office in that way. But as soon as you return to your home, take those out and wear your regular dhoti and kurta, your own dress, own clothes, as otherwise you would have been using them in your home and in society. Swamiji brought that self-belief that he, on that world platform, in that world fair, it was organized to show the opulence, the success story of the Western civilization, to dominate every other one. It had no good intentions. It was organized for that purpose, and the Parliament of Religion was part of that. To show, because those padris, they wanted to thrust that religion down the throat of everyone. Because everyone else is pagan. They do not have religion, and we must give them religion. That was the church, that was the business. So they would have lots of land, lots of men and women, and full of continents full of men and women to conquer. It would have been a big empire. That's why it is called as ministry, ruling over parishes. That was the sole intention, but it was man proposes and God disposes. So that was the intention of the World Parliament of Religions, why it was held in World Fair. Now, Swami Vivekananda turned everything upside down. And he showed them the religion, the way he put forward. Sister Nivedita said that he represented Hinduism. He started speaking on Hinduism. By the time he had concluded his speeches in the Parliament of Religions, Sister Nivedita writes that Hinduism was formed. So, in the sense that he had very, in a concise and condensed manner, he had presented the whole of Hinduism in very form of principles, the absolute nugget, golden truths upon which this Hindu religion stands. And the success story of that, and Swamiji's representing our own religion, especially to Hindus, brought back that self-belief and faith that there is nothing to worry, not to fear, that we are absolutely must be very proud of our ancestors, the religion we are born in, the land we are born in. And that's why that every freedom fighter, they used to have this couple of books, this Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga of Swami Vivekananda or Bhagavad Gita. Their struggle, their self-belief, their self-sacrifice was rooted in the Dharma. The freedom. So, this is the idea. The freedom, it sprouts from this self-belief of self-understanding, self-acceptance. Not by self-advocacy or mislabeling things. Passing one thing for other, excusing. That is not a self-believing person. And he is the truly free person. He is the truly free man, who is not ashamed of himself, who is neither condescending towards other in the pride, whose feet are truly planted on the ground. Now he is the free person. There is one beautiful poem by Rudyard Kipling. The name of the poem is If. So it's a long poem and there are probably 7 or 8 stanzas. Very beautiful poem. So ultimately it concludes that it gives various instances. I cannot cite you that, but you can search it on Google and read it. And ultimately ends in, there is a long list. If you are like this, if you are like this, if you have this and you behave like this and this thing, that everything goes on 7 and 8 stanzas. Very wonderful. And in the end, how does he conclude? That if you fulfill all these things, then what? Then what will happen? What is the result? They say, then you will be a man, my son. That's how he concludes, Rudyard Kipling. The idea of freedom is that. So this has to be earned. This cannot be earned by wagging tail before others. So today I was late due to some problem, and because today is the 14th August, to India's on the eve of our Independence Day. The idea of freedom, I wanted to speak. I was thinking about that. I didn't get time to think or deliberate upon it. So anyhow, the idea of freedom, the idea of moksha in our dharma, in our Vedanta, and the idea of freedom as we see how it is expressed in the character of the individual in our day-to-day life, that we have seen. So because this is Gita class, I think at least a verse we should touch. I will just recap what happened in the last class. There are 4 minutes, and then we will take up from the next verse in the next class. So Arjuna had asked Bhagavan that as soon as a fear, a sort of, came in the heart of Arjuna, that what if that individual on the path of yoga, on the path to the Brahman, if he fails, if he slips from the path, whether he will be destroyed and deprived of the both of Iha and Para, in that sense. That will he lose everything? Will he good for nothing? What will be his consequences? And he will be rootless, apratishto, like a drifted cloud in the sky. Will that be his condition? And probably his own words brought so much fear in the heart of Arjuna. He comes to a kind of self-awareness, is some sense, and he says to Bhagavan that there is nobody to vanquish, to cut asunder my doubt other than you. Etan me sanshayam Krishna chetum aharsya sheshatah tvad anya sanshyasyasya chetana yuvapaddate. As soon as Arjuna surrenders to Bhagavan, his tone, as I said, I checked in the last class, I had said whether Bhagavan has used this word tata for Arjuna before to this. He had never used this word before in this Bhagavad Gita. As soon as since Bhagavan has started speaking as these verses of Bhagavad Gita, he didn't use this word. He never used this word tata. It is used in very endearingly to one's maybe son or somebody like son or my child, oh my dear, in that sense. So Bhagavan using this word first time, this kinds of calling, sorry, this type of what you say, this exclamation or pronunciation. So he says, Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krut krachit durgatim tata gacchati. This tata word, oh my dear. So Partha, there is certainly, there is no destruction for such a person, neither here or hereafter. And know for certain that the person who is kalyana kruta kaschit, whatsoever little he might have done something good, kalyana krut, there is no durgati, no gacchati. That person, he never goes to an unfortunate ways. Durgatim tata gacchati. So we might say that in the world we see many times good people suffer and bad people rejoice. So it may always happen, but when Bhagwan is talking about Durgati and Gacchati, it is something that when a person is condemned for a very long time and somehow no results or no efforts bring any results, there is no change, that could be called as Durgati. Not a very limited step that Bhagwan says that karma and their karma phala, they are unavoidable. That, but what happens? Sri Ma had said this, that of course there are fruits of action, there is no doubt. But the person who is holding on to Bhagavan, to Ishwar, what happens? He says, where there has to go a plow, plow, you know, with which land is cultivated, it has a big heavy metal blade. Do you understand that? It is a very big heavy metal blade. Earlier they used to be driven by bullocks, now they are driven by tractors. So that is called as a plow. To what you say, to turn the earth up. So now mother says, Sri Ma says, that where there has to go plow, only needle pricks. This is what the word of the mother. So Durgati tata gacchati, nahi kalyana krut kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. He does not go to any durgati. There are certain things, if we see, suppose, life of Pandavas themselves, isn't it? So all the time they had been facing different kinds of threats and challenges and difficulties, isn't it? But Sri Arjuna or Yudhishthira or even Kunti, she does not think that they have gone to Durgati, though they were the devotees of Krishna. They do not think that they have gone to Durgati. So Durgati is much worse thing than we can imagine. So there are certain things that we might have to suffer. And considering is the will of God, if we happily just face them and exhaust them, probably we would be better off. And rather, if for a person, suppose, who does not believe in God, so it is a better approach, even from such a standpoint of view, to face cheerfully something, think constructively, instead of simply finding blame and responsibility into others. I tell you one, just few days back, something happened with me. What happened? There was a flood relief, flood in Yavatmal district. It is quite far away from here. From Nagpur, it is 150 kilometers. There is no train. You have to go by road. So there one, the ashrama, they had requested us to lend us some help and so that this they can do this relief operation, they can extend that help to the poor people affected by the flood, etc. So survey, everything was done, and then when the point of distribution came, so I had decided, so I was to go there. So last Sunday, after finishing this class and everything, okay, and I had sufficient time. At 7 o'clock, I had decided to go by our train, local train. My train was at 8:15. At 7 o'clock, I was on the platform car station. So that is good enough time to go to CST, to catch the train. So many things happened, I tell you. I missed the train that day. I missed the train that day. So a lot of hassle and everything else. So I was irritated, vexed, because all the time the tension is building up, because I am not able to reach the train. My train reached there on 8:15. Train was to depart at my train, which I was supposed to board, that was to depart on 8:15. In 5 minutes, I rushed from platform number 2 to platform number 18. I could not see the train anyhow. So that was, so I could always blame that, oh God, are you not protecting me? Are you not taking care of me? Why you are making me do such thing? What is my fault? What wrong I have done? I am going to do your work. It is not my pleasure trip. I fulfill all my duties. I conducted the class. I given the class, and then only I departed. I was sufficiently on the time. Everything I did well, and this is not something, means I am doing it for myself. Why I am supposed to suffer? I could ask that question, isn't it? That is not the way to solve this riddle. This we will have to understand. That is how you make that riddle more complicated. You do not bring any solution to the problem. Spiritual life is something to be practiced, and you have to learn that art of practice. It does not go by your whims and fancies. So, nahi kalyana. So everything I went, and that day there were not, means there were multiple instances. At least, means that was that time frame, that window. That day, then again, I somehow God gave me intelligence. I didn't come back. I went to Mr. Chief Collector Officer there. I asked him to get me a ticket. He somehow helped. I got one ticket, that too in that third AC. With this bulk of the body, I had into middle berth. I was not able to crawl also. Somehow I reached there. That ticket was not up to Mother station, up to Bhusawa station. So I was awake, since the midnight, that somebody else will come, etc. I neither could sleep, nothing could do. And from the next day onward, there was work, everything, meetings, these things were going on. So anyhow, I faced it. I went along with it. I played the ball. So everything went well. Of course, everything went well. I came back after 3 days. So these kinds of things happen. So you must take it on your chin. You understand this phrase? Taking it on your chin. This is from the boxing, the game of the boxing. Okay. So you have strong chin, means you can take a blow or two. You will not collapse. So fighter against you is equally strong. So one blow is good enough to floor you down, to end the match. So having a strong chin, so that chin we have to develop. That we must be able to take a blow or two before blaming God, to learn the art of spiritual practice. So you have to show patience and some faith. It should not be so fragile or volatile that it will, with little sprinkle, that it is start making crackling sound. We have to go further than that. So he will not go to any durgati. And in the examples he said that either they are born in a prosperous family, where probably he will fulfill his desires, or he is born in a family of yogis, from where he will take his spiritual journey forward. This much we had seen in the last class. And what happens after that? we will take up in the next class. Okay. So, Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.